And she looks at me and in shock, she says, that guy has late night guests? She didn't phrase it like that, but that's essentially what she said. She was shocked that Bill was having these consistent late night guests over. What up, Jeff here, and welcome back to the Charisma Mastery video series. So in this second video, I want to tell you a little story about a friend of mine, and we'll call this friend Bill. Okay, it's not his real name, but for purpose of this story, we'll call him Bill. Now, this fellow Bill, there's really nothing special about him at a glance. He's a short Asian guy. He's about 5'3". He's not particularly good looking. I mean, he's not like Quasimodo or anything, but he's not particularly good looking. He's not the smartest guy in the room. He's not rich. He works in the restaurant industry. But this guy was actually a roommate of mine. He was a pretty close friend, and he lived across the hall from me. And I remember, it's kind of a funny story, one time this girl had moved in downstairs from him. And, she had moved in, and I came home one day, and I kind of saw her, and I was like, hey, how's it been going? How you enjoying the place, et cetera, et cetera. She's like, oh, it's good. But I did want to talk to you about something. This weekend, on Friday and Saturday, I had to work, and I was trying to sleep, and you had some late night guests over, and I could hear upstairs your guest being very exuberant and passionate in their vocalizations as you were having your activities up there. And could you please in the future tell your guests to kind of keep down the passionate vocalizations when you're having the late night guests? And I was like, well, I wasn't even here this weekend. I was actually out of town, on a tour, touring. And I'm like, I wasn't here this weekend. It must have been Bill. And she looks at me and in shock, she says, that guy has late night guests? She didn't phrase it like that, but that's essentially what she said. She was shocked that Bill was having these consistent late night guests over. Because, again, when you look at him, everything about him says he shouldn't be having these consistent late night guests, right? He's getting more late night guests than he even should. So what's Bill's secret? Well, as you've probably been able to guess by the topic of these videos, the secret is charisma, all right? So like I said in the previous video, almost every weekend, I get clients who, know techniques like the back of their hand, but they can't execute when it comes time to actually interact. Why? They're shut down. They're shut down to the point where they're essentially a piece of furniture. They stand there kind of awkward and grunt with this dead stare, and people they can't create a good vibe, right? So people just want to get away from them, right? The best writers in the world, Cyrano de Bergerac could be whispering lines directly into their ear through an earpiece, but they're still not going to be able to create a good vibe and hold people's attention. Which means what? Which means their interactions never even get off the ground. So what's the key to all this? Well, the key is judgment. Judgment. We're surrounded in our lives by critics that are telling us what we should be, what we should do, and very often our self-judgment is just singing right along with them. Like imagine, you're in a studio in front of an audience and you're trying to perform, whether it's a song or acting or whatever, and there's some guy standing at the foot of the stage holding up cards, writing on note cards and holding them up, telling you everything you're doing wrong as you perform. If you focus on those cards, are you going to be able to perform at your best? Absolutely not. So with our buddy Bill, he doesn't pay attention to that inner voice telling him he isn't good enough. And so, consequently, he can be free to express himself fully. Most of us, when we're interacting, we're scrambling internally to keep up with the critic. Unfortunately, these attempts to control actually put us out of control. So when you're interacting with others, if you're in a state of tension, you're powerless except to convey the state of being powerless to them. And look, that's something you might want to do in certain circumstances, but even that can be conveyed from a state of power. And that is the goal here, right? The power to do anything you need, right? Learning how to play your instrument. So I go to a voice coach, and when I went to my voice coach initially, I'd been singing for about 15 years. I was self-taught. I was pretty good. But internally, I felt like the control board of my voice, if you will, had like 4 knobs that I could play with and adjust. Now, after having gone to the voice coach for, a little over a year, maybe almost 2 years, now I have a lot more knowledge of the instrument and a lot more control. Now I feel like I have 10 different knobs, as well as several sliders and buttons, different variables to play with. So your ideas might be sound, your thinking might be clear, you might have this powerful intellect, but unless you can outwardly project that, other people are not going to be intensely compelled by what you have to communicate. So charisma mastery puts you directly in charge of your own development, and it gives you the means to continue to expand your communication power as long as you want. Now, an important distinction to make here is this. This program, it's not some information dump, okay? Like I feel that many digital information products, it's like they're just dumping a bunch of ingredients on a table in front of you, but they don't give you the recipe of how to put them together and cook it into a dish that's appealing. So with this, it's a digital course in the sense that you're given not only a bunch of information, but also directions at the end of each module about how to engage and implement the exercises and this knowledge into your life. And you're also given support, networking, and all your questions answered in a tightly knit private online community. So basically what we do, we take you by the hand and we guide you through a unique exercise process that you can do at home that actually draws on a wide variety of disciplines, from cognitive behavioral therapy to neuroscience to obscure acting methods to transcendental approaches and more. And what it does, the effect, it gives you a noticeably improved level of charisma and magnetism in just 8 weeks. So what this does, it gives you the power to express yourself in any way you want, or to not express yourself at all and still exude an air of confidence, an air of power, right? This isn't about being an extrovert. The larger your range of expressive vocabulary, the more power you're going to communicate, even in a state of readiness, right? Good example would be this. Like, let's say you have, a top athlete, like LeBron James and I can both be in a state of repose, but his power in that state is far greater than mine because of the much broader range of potential kinesthetic choice surrounding it. So with the exercise in charisma mastery, you're going to learn powerful eye contact that has the qualities of intensity and command. You're going to develop facial mobility, so your face is alive, interesting, and compelling. You're going to train your body to move through space with power, with grace, with a strong sense of presence that's physically commanding. You're going to develop your voice so it feels alive, it feels free. A voice that's magnetic, compelling, and mellifluous, as opposed to bland, boring, and monotonous. You see, I want to give back what I've learned, but the other half of the equation is you. So you got to empower yourself. And that comes from education. And if we can do it, you can do it because it's reproducible. And this program is the vehicle by which to do this. Awareness is the first step. Then you release the blocks and you replace their manifestations in your life. Like with our buddy Bill, right? You think that he cares? When I told him that story about the girl saying, that guy has guests, you know what he did? He just laughed. He doesn't care at all, right? Because he knows to ignore the sheep, right? Break free of the judgment. Charisma gives you the confidence to know you're right? To know you're right, to act on it, and play to win. Like, don't play to not lose. Most people are doing that, right? They're coming from this defensive position rather than a proactive position. But with charisma, you have zero neediness, right? Why? Because you'll be playing the game, whereas most are spectators in life, right? And once you know this, it puts you on your path to achieve the life you want without apology, without excuse, without hesitation. And furthermore, you're going to have a social circle of friends just like you who are action takers, who are achievers. Why? Because those people want to be around other people like them. And again, I can't stress this enough. Anyone can do this. And this isn't like some feel-good platitude. Oh, anyone can do it, right? I mean, it's literally something I see every week in real life on my live coaching programs. Look, I long ago stopped trying to judge a book by its cover and predict which students will do well at the beginning of the program. I used to do that. Like, oh, this guy seems like he'll do better, this guy. But again, I found those predictions are pretty useless. Why? Because ultimately, I know it comes down to their willingness to take the necessary action. So again, the opportunity is there. This is very possible, and I can help you. So be sure to come back for the next video in the series where I'm going to talk about the secret that some of the world's top entertainers use to, captivate their audiences and make lifelong fans. And furthermore, I'm going to give you a preview of some of the exercises that we use in the program. See you soon.